All right, what's good, everyone? Welcome to your Sunday afternoon of Livewire Sports Media. And even though it's football Sunday and everything, and my Commanders got shut out pretty badly, but it still is always a good day for some news. Now, I had to dive back into the Stephanie White, Sue Bird um, podcast, and pretty much I had a it was a point in there that I had listened to, then I got away from it, but shout out to Black and White Sports and KTTV for bringing this pretty much to surface. And it's kind of funny because towards the end of that podcast, Stephanie White talked about keeping the main thing, keeping everything inside the locker room where they trying to protect each other and all of that stuff. And she gave kudos to Natasha Howard about, how well she was a good vet. But I'm gonna play a clip from y'all because she talked about toxicity and pretty much around the league. But we already know where they talked about toxicity. They only talk about one fan base, the Indiana Fever, the Caitlin Clark fans, how all the toxicity, the racial stuff has happened because of the Indiana Fever. We even seen it in the playoff game last year where Indiana was playing at home and Alicia Gray was trying to make it look like an Indiana fan was taunting her. But come to find out with video footage, she was the one that started it with the fan. And then she called us up trying to get the fan kicked out, and it didn't work. And she threw her hand up like a little toddler, a little 2-year-old toddler, because she couldn't get her way the way she wanted. And we noticed in that whole playoff series how Alicia Gray whine and complain and jumping up and down and stuff like that. So they try to, ever since Caitlin Clark came to the league, came to the Fever, everybody in the league tried to make look like the Indiana Fever fans are racist or they out. I mean, we have had this conversation a lot of times with everything that you could go to any different fan base, football in general. We know how the Philadelphia Eagles fans is. We know how the Kansas City fans is. We know how the Dallas Cowboy fans is, so forth. If you go and play in sports, heckling is a part of it. Now, yeah, if it gets out of hand, that's a whole different thing. But just labeling a fan base toxic when you the head coach of the team, if you can't handle the spotlight, then go back to Connecticut. That's just that's my thing about it. But anyway, let's play this clip real quick.
Of this league and where we are. I think certainly some things I'd like to change. I'd like to change the toxicity around our league. I know that's not really a controllable factor. I love the fact that the women in our league are always on the forefront of social change. I think that we have sport in general is, but women in particular.
Now she says she would like to change the toxicity around the league. So who are you talking about particular that's causing the toxicity? I mean, when you was at Connecticut, you had Alyssa Thomas saying that she was getting racial slurs. When they came, when Phoenix came to Indiana, she was yapping at the fans, and the fans was going back at her because her lover disparted from the Fever, which you knew about, which you didn't really correct it because you kind of like sidestep every time they ask you in the interview. Same thing about Caitlin Clark injury. You sidestep that. You really didn't give no clear cut answer to that. So if there's anything that's toxic, is yourself. Because the fact of the matter is you are part of the league. You've been a part of the league for a long time. Throughout everything, through activism, through the COVID years, and everything like that. Now, me personally, I wish Sue Bird had follow up with her and say, what particular toxicity are you talking about in the league? So you could pinpoint Stephanie White to give a clear-cut answer.
That's a very prideful thing that I love about our league. And I think we want to continue to look to expand the footprint, to look to make our season longer. It's tough with the calendar. It's tough with everything that we have to compete against. But these women deserve the opportunity to have this as their only job, number one, and to be able to play a true season and to have an off season so their bodies can recover and their body.
Now, that part I could agree with, that these women should have the WNBA as their only job, their main job, their priority job. I agree with that totally, wholeheartedly. And they should have a all season where they can recover, not playing overseas and everything like that. But nevertheless, that does not clear up the misconception that you saying that the league is toxic. And at the same time, if you think the league is toxic, then you as a coach should stand to the forefront and talk about the toxicity there. Because if you point at the Indiana Fever or you point at Caitlin Clark fans, when you know there are other toxicity around there, where you got couples playing on the same team. Now you got Natasha Heidemann dating Dejanay Carrington, kissing up all her on Twitch and whatnot after she done broke up with Nelissa Smith. You got Natasha Cloud over there in New York dating her lover on the same team. That's a lot of toxicity. Yeah, you might can't control what people say on X, but as a team ownership, you can't sanction that. Now, we didn't hear anything from Bree Turner all season tweeting and everything. But as soon as the season over, she done went back to her tweeting self about everything political that's there. The thing about you, Stephanie White, you got to take accountability too, because you're a part of this. You've been a part of this league for a very long time, a player and a coach. And to make change and get away from all of that, then you have to step to the forefront. But you can't, because you embedded it in. Because nobody knew who none of y'all was if Caitlin Clark never came to the league. We want to never know. Even if Angel Reese came to the league and Caitlin Clark didn't come, we still want to know who none of y'all was. Y'all created all of this toxicity in this league because y'all allow these players to get out of hand, out of control, and do whatever it takes. Now the league is trying to go in a whole total different direction. Now you want to be an advocate for it, but don't point the fingers until you look at yourself. That's all I got to say about it. Now this actually, there was an article on this as well. I'm going to pull it up real quick. I'm not going to go to it, but I just think it's kind of funny that Stephanie White sits here and talk about the toxicity of the league when she's been a part of this league for a very, very long time, and know that the toxicity in this league was created by these players that should have been dealt with a long, long time. And now they're causing all of this hoopla with the CBA, holding up the CBA, not looking out for younger players and everything like that. But you trying to coach a generational player, and you don't even know how to do that completely. But then you say, "Oh, let's keep the main thing, and your number gonna get called. Sometimes it's not gonna get called, or whatever the case might be." You got to establish leadership, and you and your coaching staff. What have y'all done? We have seen countless videos of how everybody comes and show out when the Fever does good. They're winning. Caitlin Clark hyping up the crowd. Y'all don't even want that. Y'all want everything to be silenced. Y'all want it to be not enjoyable or exciting. And you and your coaching staff has been a part of that. Now, that's like I said, if there's anything that's toxic, is the players around the league and the coaches around the league. The Cheryl Swoops, the Stephanie Whites, the Kurt Millers, all of y'all. all of y'all responsible because y'all been in this league too long and y'all have seen it. Stephanie White, you even coach a level of toxicity in Connecticut with DeWanda Bonner, Dejanay Carrington, Alyssa Thomas, and Marina Mabry. You coach all of that. And when Caitlin Clark got poked in her eye in that playoff game, you didn't say anything about it. You didn't say anything about the toxicity then. You didn't even stand up against your players for doing that. You didn't say nothing. But then you find your way out of Connecticut into Indiana. How convenient. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about Stephanie White toxicity comments. We already know who she's talking about. We already know that. Because to me, she's the problem. And like I said, like I have gotten word yesterday, I'm not going to talk too much about it. But if you ever watch Fast and the Furious, yeah, this is Stephanie White's last ride. Like, comment, subscribe. Live Wire Sports Media. Enjoy your Sunday evening. Until the next time, if it ain't live, it's The Wire.